It's Saturday night and you're watching Clash of the Titans with me, Mike Graham, and I'm joined by Peter Cardwell, Russell Quirk and the wonderful Kevin O'Sullivan. Well, it's another week and another mythical dash for growth from this hopelessly mixed-up government that brought you the jobs tax. Apparently, the Chancellor's going to transform all of our fortunes by building a little railway line from Oxford to Cambridge and whacking us all with more tax rises in the spring. Never mind, Rachel Thieves is more like the Pratt controller. In fact, you could be forgiven for thinking there's only two growth industries in this broken, overtaxed country of ours: immigration and woke nonsense. Enough migrants will come here in the next decade to fill 10 cities the size of Sheffield. But instead of following Donald Trump's example and packing illegals on planes, our government is getting rinsed by the right-on human rights lawyers keeping foreign drug dealers in Britain because their daughters might be trans. It seems even the King isn't immune to the woke mind virus. It turns out it was His Majesty, of all people, who told the Royal Navy to rename HMS Agincourt as HMS Achilles in case it upset the French. What could Macron have possibly done about it? Name one of his ships after a famous victory over the English? Yeah, good luck with that, pal. Meanwhile, the lefties infesting the Home Office say two-tier policing is a far-right conspiracy and that police should record more incidents of non-crime hate. Actually, hang on a minute. Maybe this monologue will count as one as well. Just roll the bloody titles. And so, Peter Cardwell joins us in for Julie Hartley-Brewer. Welcome.
Hi there.
I've got a glass of wine. You haven't, so you should probably go first.
OK, I'll see if I can speak a bit of sense. Well, Rachel Reeves gave a big speech this week talking about growth, talking about a new runway for Heathrow. But the question is, can she get that? On the Prime Minister's questions, they were talking about workers' rights and a big cheer from the Labour benchers, talking about unions, talking about workers' rights and the fact that this new bill that's going through Parliament at the moment will give workers even more rights than they have previously. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not against workers having rights. I want people to be treated well. But at the same time, how are you going to get growth, especially if it costs £2,000 to take people on?
Yeah.
First of all, never mind get rid of them. Also, all those kind of windows in between being hired and then perhaps taking someone to a tribunal are much truncated. And the fact that where is this growth actually going to come from? Because Labour really bet the farm on growth when it came to the election in July. But where is it actually going to come from? And is a new runway at Heathrow actually going to happen? Also, Ed Miliband...
I think it's a straight answer to that.
Well, yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Ed Miliband
excited
missing
about
in
the
action.
railway from Oxford to Milton Keynes. Yeah. That's exciting.
I mean, that's major, isn't it? It is actually quite difficult
Pete,
to get between Oxford
in
and
that
Cambridge.
speech, there was literally nothing new. So the Oxford-Cambridge, what we're calling laughably is the new Silicon Valley for Europe.
It's a railway
How
line,
laughable
it's
is
not
that?
there.
Yeah. And a few houses.
Seriously,
That's what she said. And a few
like
houses.
Happy Valleys.
A few houses sprinkled along. That, Heathrow and so on. All of those things, even if they do happen, won't happen for 10 years. And by the way, the Heathrow announcement was way back in 2017.
Yes.
All the legal ramifications were sorted out by 2021. Nothing new was in Rachel Reeves' speech.
And the
at all.
question
Well,
as
also,
well with
Sadiq
it,
Khan doesn't want it. So
he
it won't
doesn't
happen.
want it either. He
made a
made
statement.
Ed Miliband is already talking about carbon budgets.
Missing an action.
So trust me, Miliband will put the kibosh on this runway. It will be stuck in eons of planning rows and local protests.
Oh, no.
And so on.
No, they've said that they're going to lift all the planning.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
application
going to
problems.
happen.
We'll see
They've
if that
said
happens.
that's not going to be a problem.
You can't. I mean, you see, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I take it all back.
I mean, come on.
No, you
Don't
can't-
keep up.
you
Have a
can't
bit of
just-
trust.
I mean, they seem to think that just say, "Oh, we're going to have a Silicon Valley. It's a railway.
It'll
line,
magically
and It's a
happen.
road.
It's
We're
more
gonna
like a
improve the
Silicon-
road.
You know what it's going to be? It's like a silicon ditch.
I was
I think
gonna
it's
say,
going to be.
it's more like a silicon breast.
Yeah.
There's only one of them.
She seems to think. I mean, in what way does that promote growth? You're talking about, as Russell says, you're talking about stuff that's, if we're lucky, won't happen for 10 years.
Yeah.
How does that
And
promote
this
growth?
is the wider question, Kevin, as well, because they're saying, right, we're going to fix social care in 3 years. We're going to fix the NHS
They're not.
in 5 years.
They're not.
We're going to have growth in 10 years.
No.
Well, I'm not sure Labour's going to be in government in
But
5
it's a
years'
plea
time.
for another term.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
I
It's
think
all, I know
this is
we need
their
to
new
deliver.
strategy. Their new strategy seems to be, look, we'll do this in about 8 years, so you'll have to re-elect us to get it done.
Yeah.
Basically, we're doing nothing in the first term
Yeah.
because we can't figure out what to do or how to do it.
they've
And we haven't got any money.
You're right. They've been saying this claptrap since day one. You'll have to give us 2 terms.
Yeah.
You know, the first term will be very difficult,
Yes.
but in the second term,
Right.
it's the sunlit uplands.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, forget it. You're not getting voted back in.
And another question is, in the spring, if there's going to be, there is a spending review, is there going to be a mini budget in the spring? Is that going to happen? Labour still haven't been clear on that.
No.
And will taxes go up yet again,
Right.
especially for small businesses?
We've
Thinking of second
already
thought.
got the whammy coming in April, which we haven't even had the pull results of yet, which is national insurance going up, minimum wage
Minimum
going
wage.
up.
Yep.
People who are running businesses are absolutely terrified that they're going to go out of business. I was at a restaurant this week, and they said basically our entire profit will be wiped out by the increase in national insurance and the minimum wage.
So if we cut through all the gaslighting that we saw in that speech this week, which is, and by the way, you can't just say growth 100 times.
That's right, that's what
and
I'm
it
saying.
ends up being growth.
Right.
Growth.
But the elephant in the room, no disrespect, Rachel, the elephant in the room is absolutely the tax that she has put on businesses.
Yeah.
Let's be clear, it's 20 billion quid.
Yeah.
There are companies now like Whitbread, M&S, Marks and Spencer's and all sorts saying, genuinely, we won't be able to hire as many people.
Right.
We won't be able to invest in their businesses. And by the way, here's a stat for you. There's a millionaire, not the same one, by the way, leaving Britain every 45 minutes.
Yeah, the same guy.
Because of this, same guy.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
he's
what
coming back.
they'll use the third runway
back
for.
on school
Everybody
bus.
leaving the country.
Maybe it's just for millionaires.
The other thing that slightly worries me is that Rachel Reeves doesn't seem to have much of a grasp of aeronautics or indeed science, because she claims that by the time she's put the third runway in, the air will be cleaner in Britain because the planes won't be flying round and round in circles. I don't know about you, but planes don't really fly round and round in circles anymore. They tend to be asked to sort of
Did you hear the other
fly
thing?
around Britain
Yes,
and then
of course.
come back, and they don't sort of go backwards and forwards around London. And so also, I was talking to Simon Calder this week, and he's like, you know what's going to happen? They're going to build a third runway, and more airlines are going to put more planes onto into Heathrow, so it'll actually get busier.
Yeah.
So the air won't be clean; it will be dirty.
But they did say that one of the solutions might be, wait for it, electric planes.
Oh, yeah.
Who wants
Right.
to go up in an electric plane?
Not me.
When the battery starts
Yeah,
running out.
exactly. You've got 20 minutes left. Better land soon.
I'll tell you something
Right.
else that is emerging. Although Rachel Reeves's understanding of economics and growth seems to be sketchy.
Yeah.
I don't think Keir Starmer has any feel for economics whatsoever.
He hasn't got an economic philosophy.
If it's not the law, not the law,
Yeah.
it's just not there.
Well,
so
look
we've got a
But
problem.
even on the law,
there.
it's not that great.
He's not much good on that either, no.
He wrote an article for the Times this week, and he gave all these kind of weird metaphors about the Japanese knotweed of regulation. He talked about needing
What an idiot.
some state-backed subsidies for people. Then he talked about freedom from the state. He doesn't have an economic philosophy.
Is this the piece where he sort of made himself out to be the new Thatcher? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And
Really popular with Labour, that.
He's subcontracted his economic policy to Rachel Reeves. The slight problem is, if you subcontract your policy to someone who doesn't know exactly what she's talking about, well, that's very, very difficult.
There really is a problem. So you've got these two, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, who have no clue what they're doing, and that, to say the least, is extremely worrying. And as I say, they're evoking Thatcher and Trump. She says, let's be like Donald Trump. He says, let's be like Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
This indicates just how desperate they are.
Yeah.
Because the words Trump and Thatcher will catch in their
Yeah,
throats.
but the fact is, it tells you how far away they've come from Tony Blair, doesn't it? Because they don't want to say Tony Blair, because they hate Blair even more than they hate Trump.
Yeah, and they are realising now the catastrophic error of coming into power and talking not only this country, but the economy down.
Yeah.
They came in and said, this is a basket case,
Right.
the economy is in the toilet, we've got a massive, great financial hole. They talked us down, and they've looked at Donald Trump and said, oh, this isn't what you do, is it? You talk
Right.
the country up. Let's try and do that. Too little, too late.
But
now.
Exactly.
time and time again, we've seen Labour coming in saying, right, we're going to have a review of this. We're going to set up a quango. We're going to have a discussion
A
about
lot of
social
reviews,
care.
haven't they?
We're going to have a think about healthcare and what we do with that. My question is, if you're blaming the Tories for 14 years, where's your plan?
Yeah.
Where's your plan? What are you going to do?
They had a plan. They told us they had a plan. They told us it was fully costed.
Fully
They told
costed.
us that nothing would be done that wasn't already
like
in the
a comedy,
plan.
isn't it?
It's ridiculous.
No tax
It's like
rise
we
for
had
ordinary people, no council tax
but
rises.
we had Starmer this week, and we found the clip from earlier in the year, last year, saying, under Labour, not a penny more will you pay in council tax. We will freeze it. Well, they didn't.
And now there's some
More lies.
authorities that would increase their council tax to their residents by up to
25% if you live in
right,
Windsor.
Liberal
Yeah, by the way,
Yeah.
talking about businesses, of course, they're feeling the strain with this terrible tax burden. Her £40 billion tax grab budget killed any prospect of growth ever, to be honest with you. But what about individuals as well? We're all paying a damn fortune.
Of course.
now. I've just had to pay my tax bill. I had to sell the wife and the dog in order to afford
You
it.
won't get much for them.
The problem is with
Exactly.
this tax. The problem is with this tax. It's not just the tax
Got
that
more for the
businesses.
dog, actually. God, I'm going to be in
Yeah,
trouble.
you're going to be
It's not just the taxes that are now being paid,
Right.
it's the signal that sends. All these
Well,
international ventures
yes.
that Rachel Reeves wants to attract to this country. country.
Yeah.
There's nowhere in a million years a big business is going to come here and pay the greatest tax in the Western world.
Well, never mind the people being attracted to this country for business. There's a lot of people being attracted to this country just because they fancy coming here to live.
There is. So the spectre of immigration raises its head again, like it does pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And this is official news, official forecasting from the Office of National Statistics, which is the official government body, saying that by 2032, there will be an increase in the UK population to 72.5 million, which is scary enough. I reckon we're there already. No, I reckon we're there already.
Yeah.
I reckon the reality is if we keep adding 500 to 600 to 700,000 people by way of net migration every year, we will probably be at something like 75
their prediction is based on 340,000 net migration a year.
Yeah,
it's already
And
twice
we know it's far
twice
more.
that.
No, it is.
Plus the black economy as well.
We're
which we
already
don't know
there.
about.
We've already got GP surgeries, dentists, schools, hospitals that are buckling under the pressure of the fact that we're and roads, of course, that we simply don't have the resources for this. But those on the left will continue to believe that because the birth rate in Britain is reducing, and birth and death rate is about the same, we're at parity now, we must have immigration to help shore up the economy of Britain. Again,
What a load of old
the
cobblers.
reality is GDP per individual has fallen significantly over the last 10 years. So because we are choosing the wrong immigration, open door policy, come on down, even if you're undocumented, even if we don't know who you are off that small boat, the fallacy that bringing in 500,000 people a year above that 72, 75 million, whatever it is going to boost the economy is plain nonsense.
So until 2032, they say there's going to be 4.9 million more people coming here legally. So this government, they listened to the absolute outrage of the public when we learned that the Tories have been conning us for 14 years, letting in sometimes 1,100,000. Some go back, of course. But, you know, like net migration was running at about 600,000 a year. And the nation went, you bastards, you conned us, you conned us. And that's why the Tories lost the election. That's why everybody hates the Tories. This government comes in and says, well, we'll allow 4.9 million in.
Yeah, because we must have them for the
so
economy.
Didn't they hear what the public said?
Well, they haven't got a plan, and they're not listening, and they don't understand that there's still this very, very stupid idea that to be anti-immigration in any way is racist. The fact is, it's boots on the ground. It's just a numbers game. And the fact that it actually goes back to the conversation about tax as well. We were saying the contract between you paying your tax and the state. What do you actually get for that? Do you get your GP's appointment? Do you get your dentist appointment? Can you buy a house? Can you get your kid?
Well, you do if
local
you're an
school,
asylum
for
seeker.
example?
You can have all of that.
Well, exactly.
You don't need to buy it.
Just give it to
if you're not actually making any contribution. So there's so many people paying more tax than ever who aren't getting the basics from the state, and this is only going to get worse. And immigration is going to.
I tell the story, and I've told it many times. I'll say it again. I was talking to a former border force guy who said that he gets regular calls from his mates who are still working, and he said this was one case which is typical of what happens every single day at Heathrow. 3 women arrive with papers to be nurses in the NHS. They've got visas. They've got absolute right to enter the country. Each of them bring a husband. Each of them bring 5 children. They're coming from Nigeria. There's 21 people coming in, and there are 3 people working.
All with their hand.
And that's not, and that's not going to be good for the economy, is it?
Don't forget these immigration figures contribute to the madness of this obsession with growth. If you bring lots of people in, the idea is, they've got more money to spend, and therefore the economy does grow. And it does grow if you're bringing in hundreds of thousands a year, but infinitesimally. So look at the growth in the last 3 months. It's actually minus 0.01%, minus 0.01%, and this last month up to 0.1% plus.
It doesn't grow if you bring in people.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
If people that come in are a drain on the basis,
it doesn't work.
So,
they
for
cost
instance,
more.
75% of Somalians in this country are in social housing. How is that positive?
You're right. They cost us more than they bring in.
And it is that key point about GDP per capita. It's not GDP in general. It's not just growing the pie. It's growing the pie in relation to the people who are actually contributing to the economy. And if people are going to contribute to the economy, that's fine. Maybe we do need some form of immigration.
But Peter,
skill sets.
But we should be under no illusion that this is not government policy. If you look at the budget on October the 31st, within the Red Book, deep buried within it was the acknowledgement in number terms that the government in this Parliament, so till 2029, expect to spend or to allow another 2.5 million people in. So it's sanctioned.
Also, why can't we do what some countries do. I know Australia did it for a while. They certainly, I think, still do it in the Channel Islands. You can't enter the country and live there unless you can prove that you're going to earn a certain amount of money. You know, they're supposed to have that.
Well, Channel Islands is £10 million a year.
Yeah, right.
Good for them.
They have that for the legal immigrants. The problem is the illegal immigrants, and sometimes they're dependents as well. So it's still an issue.
Yeah, but that's the point. Is that there's still people coming in on what you might call medium income, say 20. I think they've raised it up to what 30 something.
Something like that. Yeah.
But if they're bringing 5 kids and a husband, or 5 kids and a wife, it disappears.
Well, the tax they pay doesn't pay for their dependents.
No.
And wasn't there were figures recently saying that after 20 years or 30 years, the average migrant loses this nation about £150,000.
Yeah.
So the idea that it's good for the economy is for the birds. Absolute nonsense.
Yep.
It is absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, well, we've got more coming up. Coming up next, Trump's really taking charge, while in backwards Britain, the Home Office dismisses 2-tier police concerns as far-right hysteria. See you in 3. Welcome back to Clash of the Titans. It's time for Kevin O'Sullivan. Go on, Kev. Tell us what you want.
Well, I want to talk about this report compiled by dorks at the Home Office. It was commissioned, we found out about that this week. It was commissioned by Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, and it is both infuriating and extremely worrying. These people who work at the heart of government, the Home Office, came up with a report to say that any of us who express concern that there is 2-tier policing in this country. And by the way, let's not even debate whether or not there is 2-tier policing. It quite clearly exists. It is quite clearly a massive problem. But these people in the Home Office said that if you worry about this, you are a far-right extremist. They also said that we are all far-right extremists for, and I quote, exploiting what they called the group sex. The group gang sex problem, to whip up anti-Muslim.
Oh yeah, this is the rape gang.
Let's talk about the grooming gang scandal, the rape gang scandal,
the alleged gang.
Shall we?
Alleged. They're all in jail.
Nearly every single one of these vile rapes on thousands and thousands of vulnerable white young girls were committed by Muslim men of Pakistani origin. So that's a nonsense. As Russell quite rightly said, even more worrying, they used the term the alleged group sex scandal. The alleged. Now, it's not alleged because hundreds of these Muslim men of Pakistani origin have been convicted and gone to jail, often for paedophile rape. So it's not alleged, it's a fact. Now, of course, we should be extremely annoyed that these people are calling millions of Brits with decent opinions on 2-tier policing and the grooming gang scandal far-right extremists. But we should also take on board, what does this mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means they hate us. They hate the public. And even though Yvette Cooper and Dan Jarvis rejected this report,
I think they were told to,
I think they saw the problems with it.
Trust
me, it reflects what they think.
Keir
Starmer hates us. Yvette Cooper hates us. These people who work at the Home Office, they hate us. They think we're Neanderthals and that all our opinions are racist and far-right. Look at what Keir did. Why am I calling him that? What 2-tier did with the Southport riots? Just pointed at all those white working class people and said they're far-right thugs. They were more than that. They were protesting about the migrant crisis, about which he does nothing. This is really frightening.
It really is, but it also tells you, does it not, what is going on inside the Home Office? Why it's basically not fit for purpose.
It's been infiltrated.
They can't do more than one asylum claim in a week. Are you kidding me? Obviously, they don't want to do any asylum claims, and that's why they keep not doing them. They don't want to patrol the borders of this country. They don't want to police it properly. They don't want to in any way criminalise anyone who might be considered to be from an ethnic minority. And that's exactly how they operate.
Civil service activism.
It's
we know that we had in the previous government. It was the civil service that got rid of the likes of Priti Patel and Dominic Raab and so on. But the other outrageous thing with this is they hardly refer to Islamic extremism at all. They sweep that under the carpet. And actually, apparently, according to the activist authors of this report, what we should be much more concerned about is conspiracy theories and misogynism. communists.
Yes.
And far
well,
right-
I've been looking
far-
for the manosphere,
Yeah.
which apparently is something else that
Manosphere
we'll
is a
hang
big
out
thing
in.
as well.
Manosphere.
Presumably in
I was thinking
this.
you might know about that.
Is
I
it?
don't know. But I mean, what is the manosphere? Are we all in it? Do we hang out in it? Is it a place on the internet where you go and meet other
we go
men?
there?
Is it a
I
good
mean,
thing
I've
or a
heard of
bad
these
thing?
places,
Tell
but
us all about incel people. What's it like being a member?
I tend not to go. I tend not to go to places where lots of men hang out on the internet.
But the manosphere, it sounds like a really cool clothes shop.
But look at the statistics. As Russell quite rightly says, this report essentially says is what we're going to worry about is far-right
Exactly.
extremists, far-right
Yeah.
terrorists.
So the thing is, as well,
the statistics. In the last 25 years, 94% of all deaths in this country caused by terrorist attacks have been in Islamic terrorist attacks.
Yes.
With the terrorism we have to worry about in this country is Islamic terrorism, as simple as that. And while we're on the topic, why does this country, alone in the entire world, go out of its way to avoid calling terrorists terrorists?
Terrorists, yeah.
Axel
Well, yeah.
Obama
Yeah.
was a terrorist.
Well, terrorists. The thing
Right.
is, as well, within all this, is that they don't understand what far-right extremism actually is.
Right.
Far-right extremism is not talking about two-tier policing.
Supporting Millwall, that's what they think.
I mean, they just don't get it. There are far-right people in this country. There are Nazi supporters. There are neo-Nazis who want to kill anybody who's not white. Those people exist. There aren't very many of them, thankfully.
Tiny
they're tiny
minority.
Thankfully, not very many of them. But there's a lot of mainstream opinion. There's a lot of ordinary, decent people who think, hold on a second, why is one crime treated this way and one crime treated that way? That's two-tier policing.
yeah.
To have the debate, and those people are being labelled, and that really worries me because there is a problem and there is a suppression of free speech and freedom of thought.
And
in this country as well.
the root of it is a kind of wokery. Now, the far-right extremist terrorist that killed the Labour MP, Joe Cox, was white.
Yeah.
Immediately, the body politic, the Westminster guy, he's a terrorist, he's a terrorist. The guy who watched that drama about the Rochdale rape gang scandal called Three Girls on the BBC, got into his van
From Wales,
drove up the M4 from Wales to the Finsbury Park Mosque, mowed down all the worshippers there, killed one guy. He is white. Immediately a terrorist.
Yeah.
Axel Cabana,
And funny
young
enough-
man of colour,
funny enough-
son of migrants, not a terrorist.
And
You see
also,
where I'm getting at?
He literally had rights.
And then Al-Qaeda.
And also, in neither of those cases did it prejudice the trial.
No.
Despite the fact that Keir
Even though
Starmer
politicians
says,
labelled
if you
those
call
things as
people-
terrorists straight away.
Exactly.
Yeah, what is it? I mean, think about it. It's that old saying, isn't it? If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it probably is a
terrorist.
duck. Now, I say that a guy found in his house with an Al-Qaeda manual written by an Islamic extremist and enough ricin poison to kill thousands of people is probably a terrorist.
And the head of MI5, of course, commenting on this very report, what did he say? Well, actually, 75% of those that are on our watch list that we are focused on are Islamic extremists.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't have to look very far, do we, to find somebody who's actually doing this properly, and it's Donald Trump. You know, now as we sit here, he's been in charge for about 10 days. The amount of stuff that Donald Trump has been getting through is quite incredible.
He's been a machine.
Over the weekend, when he managed to squeeze in the 45-minute phone call to Sir Keith Starlin, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure whether the first 40 minutes of that was Starlin on hold.
Was that just after he rinsed the president of Colombia?
Well, he'd already done the president of Colombia while he was playing golf. He was on the 6th hole
brilliant.
of his golf
By the
course,
8th
right?
hole, he got it
sublime.
He hears that the president of Colombia, whose name I can't remember, is not going to accept any criminals coming back from the United States on planes. And by the time he's teeing off on the 8th hole, he's already sorted it. And he's got the guy, he's gone, right, I'll tell you what, if you're going to do that, we'll put 25%
He didn't even have to let the four ball behind him go through, did he?
No, absolutely.
Do you know what that
Stroke and distance and sort out Colombia.
You know what that Colombian pipsqueak said as well, as he had to eat humble pie and accept exactly what Donald Trump demanded. He said, well, I suppose at the end of the day, I can't stop America returning our illegal migrants.
Yeah.
Well, why can't we do the same?
Exactly.
Why can't we
and
do
why
the
is it
same?
so difficult?
And you see J.D. Vance talking about it, and he said, look, if you come to my country and you commit a crime and you are therefore a criminal from a foreign country, I don't want you in my country, and you're going to get kicked out. And that's exactly what they're doing. People said on the first day that Donald Trump was in, on Inauguration Day, the 20th of January, they said, oh, you won't be able to do all this, deporting, mass deporting, you won't be able to do that. Well, he's doing it. He's literally
He's in the
putting people
he's
on
in the
planes,
process of doing
he's
it.
sending the planes back to the countries, and they're landing and they're staying
He gives
there.
the lie to that crap about illegal immigrants are not criminals. They
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
They broke into the country illegally, and that's
Trump's
thing.
and
They are
also that-
criminals,
yeah.
and so are ours.
And also that you can't do things. And the thing with Donald Trump now is that in 2016 he wasn't prepared. He didn't know how the structures worked
Yes.
and how things could be done quickly. He didn't have those people around him. Now he's hitting the ground running, and he's probably achieved more in the last 10 days, 2 weeks than many.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, he's
Well,
done. There's
what I
more
was
to
gonna
remarkable
say-
than what Joe Biden did in basically
What I was
4
going to
years.
say, in addition to all of those things we just talked about that he did on Sunday afternoon, he also managed to get to North Carolina to see the people who had been victims of the floods,
To LA.
who hadn't been helped by Joe Biden's administration at all,
Yep.
started giving them help, went to LA to embarrass the mayor of Los Angeles, who was basically doing nothing to help people get back into their houses, had a joint press conference with her, told her she was doing a bad job, told her to sort herself out. Everybody cheered. He then went to Las Vegas. I mean, this is all in the space of about 24 hours. And had
And
a
the guy's
rally.
78 years
Yeah,
old.
and had a rally. I don't know where he sleeps. And a rally
5 hours
where he
a
was,
night if
where he
he's
was
lucky,
taking the
yeah.
mickey out of Joe Biden. And he's very funny. You know, he was talking about how, you know, people tell me that, you know, they would put a call into Joe Biden and they go,
never get
call you
hold of
back
him."
in a couple of months. Yeah. They'd be like,
He's never there.
And he
I'll call you back.
and then
Well, did you see the other
and
thing?
then he goes, yeah, but the fake media, the fake news people, they'll say it's exaggerated. Yeah, it was only 1 month.
But
I mean,
the other
hilarious.
fantastic debation was someone saying, "Why is there a Marine outside the Oval Office?" And they
Yeah.
said, "Well, there's supposed to be whenever the president is in the Oval Office."
Yeah.
He hasn't been seen outside the Oval Office because Joe Biden hasn't been in the Oval Office
Right.
for weeks and months.
But don't you think Trump is sending shockwaves through
Totally.
the body politic
Yes.
all over the Western
Yeah.
world? Because we always looked at our various governments, all people around Europe look at their governments and go, why does it take them so long to do anything?
Right.
And Donald Trump's come in and just
Signed
done
these
everything
executive orders,
in 2 weeks flat.
Right.
And I think people like Starmer are looking to Washington and saying, "Oh my God, the
Yeah.
secret's out."
And people,
you don't need to
Things can't be
mess
done.
around.
Yeah, and I
Things
was
can't
talking
be
to
done.
people this week, and you'll know this. I mean, the executive order system they have in America is much more direct, and you
Yep.
can grasp more power immediately. But equally, Keir Starmer's got this massive majority.
He does, yeah.
You know, Boris Johnson had a massive majority. He did nothing with it. You know, all he did was lose it.
There is this
You
reticence in
why
this
can't
country.
why
Yeah.
can't these prime ministers just go, look, this is what we want to do. We're going to do it tomorrow, now.
And you're absolutely right. And there is this reticence. Oh, it's all a bit difficult. Oh, it'll all take a bit of time.
Yeah.
Let's have a bit of a think about it. Whereas Trump, you know, you love him or loathe him, he is decisive. He knows what
love
he
it.
wants to do.
I heard Charlie Faulkner, Lord Faulkner, on Julia Hartley-Brewer's show this week, and Julia said, "Well, why can't we do what Trump's doing? Why can't we deport our illegal migrants? Well, you know, why can't we turn the boats around or stop the boats?" He said, "Oh, what do you see? The thing is, that wouldn't be practical, Julia. And it's much more complex than you understand. Donald Trump is proving that it is not.
Right.
This is a charade,
And that's why they hate him, isn't
imposed
it?
on us by
But you
people
know,
like
but you know
Faulkner.
the huge difference. He's going back to what we said before about the civil service. What happens when you're an incoming president? Of course, pretty much everybody in the White House goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the advisors, the
But
equivalent of
8
their
to
civil
10,000
service,
of your own people.
they go.
Yeah.
So you bring your own kind of
Yeah.
political appointees at a junior level.
Right.
We don't have that here.
Although
We-
Labour have brought in, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, about 2,500
Well, they have, but-
people
but-
into the civil service that they're
Extra.
using as extras.
But
yeah,
we
who
still
are
have the
people from
same
their
permanent
neck of the
secretaries,
woods.
the same senior civil servants, the ones that tried to put the kibosh on the previous government.
Yeah.
So the civil service, by my contention, are the absolute blocker.
I'll tell you what, there's one way that Trump could have been a lot faster with all
Yeah.
his executive orders if he altered his signature, which takes about 3 hours.
He's got a long
It takes
signature.
absolutely hours. It's good looking,
Well,
but
this
it
is,
takes
what
a
people,
long
this
time.
is what people imagined the telephone conversation was like, because the readout of it, which is the, sort of the official version of what they
it's
said,
quite short.
took about a minute and a half. You know, so, I don't know, so either Trump was just talking constantly over Starmer, or Starmer was talking constantly. I don't think Starmer's got a 45-minute conversation in him.
So I was wondering
You know,
about
can
the
you imagine?
45
Well,
minutes.
you know the line where he said, he praised the royal family and talking
Yes.
about, like, Trump was just talking about how the Queen loved him and
Yeah.
he was her favourite president.
Yeah,
ever,
you know,
and all the rest of
she's
it.
a great gal, you know, it's all that kind of thing. I mean, but he has been a breath of fresh air, and I think, you know, more power to him and more power to his elbow. You know, the Iranians are now quaking in their boots, you know, the Russians are thinking about maybe stopping
gonna meet
invading
Netanyahu
Ukraine.
as well in
He's
Washington.
meeting Netanyahu,
Yeah.
so he's on side with that. He's looking at China and saying, you know, we're not going to let these characters, you know, dictate what we do in business.
Yeah.
And he said the superconductor business, he's like, you want to sell us superconductors? You come to this country, you build a factory here, you employ Americans, otherwise we're going to charge you 100% tax. It works. Anyway, that's all from us on Clash of the Titans tonight. We're all going off for a big man hug in the manosphere.
In the manosphere.
A big thank you to Peter Cardwell, Russell Quirk and Kevin O'Sullivan. Remember, you can catch more from us on Talk all week. Tune in on your radio, online or on your smart speaker. And don't forget to subscribe to Talk on YouTube.